Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, you will learn about AWS services. Today I am going to talk about how and when you should be using external libraries in AWS Glue job. Towards the end of the video, we also have a demo to show everything working. So let's get started. So let's try to understand when do you need to use external libraries. So when you are building an ETL pipeline, and again I'm taking one of my favorite examples I show almost in all my video, is suppose you are reading from some of your JDBC data sources, and through the AWS Glue job you're populating data as raw data. Then you're using another set of AWS Glue job to convert your raw data into cleansed data, and then using another set of Glue job to convert your cleansed data into your curated data. And again, in this example, I'm keeping my raw data in S3 bucket, cleansed data in S3 bucket, but curated data could be in S3 or Redshift depending on the use case or the performance requirement or the data model requirement. So suppose you are building this kind of an ETL pipeline. In such ETL pipeline, if you're building like so many of such pipelines, you will find that many jobs, many tasks are very similar. Let me give you some examples. So for instance, read data from table T1 from database D1. Read data from table T2 from database T2. Read data from table T3 from table T3 from database D3. Read data from query 1 from database 1, or read data from query 2 from database 1. Now, all these things all you're doing is that based on either table data or query data, you are extracting data from some relational database and putting into S3 bucket. These jobs are similar. Similarly, like just giving one example, but there could be other similar extraction job. So you might write 100 pipelines in order to fetch data from various data sources, but when you're talking to a JDBC endpoint or relational data endpoint, end of day you are simply extracting data and dumping into an S3 bucket, if you think about it. Similarly, there could be many cleansing jobs. When you're moving data from raw to clean state, there could be many cleansing jobs which are similar. Like for instance, for each job, some people try to like standardize their format to Parquet to improve the performance and also improve on the costing. So you might want to convert every data type to Parquet. So no matter your data is coming as a JSON in raw or CSV in raw or some other format, you want to convert all the data into Parquet. So that's a standardized job. You might want to handle the missing value. So there are multiple jobs, each are handling missing value using some standard logic, some standard method the organization want to adopt, and that you have to write, this kind of thing you have to write across jobs. Then you might have a column name standardization. Yeah, you don't want to have underscores in the column or a column starting with a number. Yeah, trust me, when you're talking to ERP systems, you will have that kind of column name, and you might want to clean the column name to make it more human readable, to make it more standardized. Similarly, you can have a date time standardization or a currency standardization. So think of your data platform where you have written like hundreds of such ETL pipeline, and you are doing these things, this similar task across different pipelines. So how do I write my code to handle this kind of job similarities or task similarities across my different ETL pipeline? I mean, you're probably writing like, you're writing the same kind of code or business logic across different ETL pipelines. So one way of solving it, you simply repeat the code, which is not recommended, but I want to put it as an option here just to say don't do it. So one way could be, okay, fine, my one pipeline took data from T1 from table T1 of database D1, put into S3 bucket, then it converted to Parquet, and also standardized on date time. Okay, so you wrote code for one pipeline like that, but then when you wrote the second pipeline, you repeated your code. So you're simply repeating your code, and if you have 100 jobs and you're doing similar things into 100 jobs, you're repeating your code 100 times. Works, but as I said, this is definitely not recommended because of so many reasons. Maintenance is the biggest reason. If your code has to be changed, and suppose you say, okay, no, I'm going to handle my date time standardization into some other format, then you have to do it in all those 100 pipelines. Suppose you say Parquet is not my favorite or my standardized format, I will use Avro going forward, then you have to go and do it in 100 of those pipelines. So of course, repeating the code is not recommended. So what is recommended is that try to use reusable library. Try to create reusable libraries which can be then used across different jobs, so that jobs don't write those business logic or repeated business logic. Those repeated business logics are written into your reusable library. Jobs are simply using it. So that's the recommended way. So how you do that? So you will create some sort of reusable libraries. So all this extract business logic from various, extracting your tables or queries from different databases, standardizing your date time, currency, column names, format, all this business logic, you create a reusable library. And then when you're writing multiple jobs, for instance, when you're writing multiple jobs to extract data from your JDBC endpoint and writing to S3 bucket, you simply refer that reusable library. So you're not writing the code for the extraction in the glue job, but you're simply using the code written in your reusable library in your glue job. And that way, your code is at a single place in a reusable manner. And tomorrow, if something has to be changed in your code, which will change things across different glue jobs, then you have to simply go and change at one place, that is your reusable library, and all the jobs will simply pick it up as the latest code. Similarly, your cleansing glue jobs, which are converting your raw data into cleansed data, they can also simply refer your reusable library. If today you're using Parquet as a format and tomorrow you want to use Avro as a format, then not a problem at all. You simply go and change the code at the reusable library. Your jobs will start converting your data file into Avro format going forward. So a reusable library is a recommended way to go forward. So how do I create, or how do we create such a reusable library with glue job, and how to make use of it? And I'm going to give example with Python and PySpark, but that's a language I'm kind of very used to. But similar things you can use with other platforms as well. Other supported programming languages as well, what I mean to say here. So in order to create a reusable library, you can use one of the configuration within glue job that is called external library, and you can configure a reusable code as you can write your reusable code, and then you can configure that reusable code as an external library in a glue job, and that way you can keep your business logic or repeated business logic outside your glue job. So the way it works, that for instance, you will write different types of code, reusable code, like you have a code for extracting table data from database. You have code for standardizing your date time, currency. Yeah, you simply write those reusable code in your Python, like Python functions. And then what you do is that you zip all these files into one. So you're creating a library. So you can, depending on like what different types of cleansing job you're doing, or cleansing reusable code you're creating, or extraction reusable code you're creating, you can create like literally a module format within Python, and then all those files you simply zip together. And once you zip together, actually you can then upload it to an S3 bucket. Amazon S3 bucket. And once you upload that to an Amazon S3 bucket, that bucket location can then be, or that zip file in the bucket can be then configured as external Python library in your glue job. And that way, when the glue job runs, glue jobs can simply make use of the methods or the functions defined in these external libraries in the glue job business logic. So it's pretty straightforward, and again, this topic is not very big, but it's very important. If you are building a big data platform, if you don't write reusable code, it's soon going to become a nightmare for you to maintain it. So from the beginning, think about reusability into your code, and that reusable code you can put into these reusable libraries, and then simply use this external Python library method to refer that to the refer that in the configuration of the glue job, and simply use that code. So that's straightforward concept. Now we have a demo today just to demonstrate this concept. As I told you, this topic is not very big, but it's very important to understand. So what we are going to show you in demo is that we are going to create two files, one called data job. Okay, another typo here. So one is your data job .python. Second is your cleansing data lib.python, not lob, data lib.python. Second is cleansing lib.python. And then I'm going to simply zip them into put them into a single zip file, upload to S3 bucket. Then I'm going to write a glue job which will read data from RDS PostgreSQL and dump into S3 bucket. And of course, this data I'm going to read from the catalog, because remember I used another. I talked about in another video why you should be talking to glue catalog. So I'm simply going to use that best practice over here. So we'll simply talk to the glue catalog, but the whole extraction business logic will not be written inside the glue job. The extraction logic will be in this Python file. The cleansing logic will be in this Python file, and then we'll simply you simply refer them, those business logic, into this glue job to do the extraction. So let's go and see how this demo works. So here we are at we are in the AWS console. So this is RDS database I am using over here. This database I have cataloged in my glue catalog. So it has 4 tables: your orders, payments, customers, and employees. And if I'm going to extract, in fact, in this case, customers and orders table. So let's see how the orders table look like. So if you look at the orders table, it has got information like product code, amount, order number, price each, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to extract this data. One more thing I will do, like my company doesn't like amount as a field name, so it wants to convert all the fields like where amount comes as like sales value. Okay, so we are going to like a reusable cleansing job like that. Similarly, if you go and see, we are going to also extract the customer data, and in this case my data is pretty straightforward. All I have is customer number and customer name. So again, these are dummy data just to demonstrate. So these tables are already cataloged, and they are going to work as a source for me. Now, what I have done here is that this is the location I'm going to write my output. So in S3 bucket, I have got Dojo data set, and this is there. I'm going to create an output folder, and in that output folder, I'm going to write my output. That means my ETL destination will be this folder, this bucket and folder. Then what I've got, I have already configured a custom library. So I have in my Dojo data set, if you look at over here in my Dojo data set, I have got a library as one of the folders where I have simply kept my custom library, and I'm going to show you the code of this custom library, but this library is keeping all my reusable code. So what I have done over here is, if you look at my code, these are 2 code I have written. So one is data library.python, and second is cleansing library.python. In my data library.python, I have got something called read data, where I simply pass database, table, and glue context as parameters, and it's simply using my glue PySpark APIs to simply read data from the catalog. And you can see here a few things. For instance, like you have to, when you're reading from a JDBC endpoint, you have to provide a sync directory. In this case, I'm not asking my user to provide the sync directory. I have simply standardized a sync directory over here, which is a script folder under my Dojo dataset bucket. Similarly, I have also written a reusable method called write data, which can take data frame data and then simply standardizes it to, so for instance, I'm writing it to S3 location. I have already standardized the output location. I don't ask my user to choose the output location. I have selected an output location, and in this output location, I am simply going to write the data. And then a person can also pass format. So you can see here, these are like simple Python functions which I have created to read data, write data. Similarly, I have a simple Python function to rename my fields, where I can pass the data frame name, old name and new name of the columns, and it can simply rename the column and return back the data frame. So I have created these two reusable code as an example over here, and then I have zipped these two files, and I have zipped these two files as with the name mycustomlib.zip, and this one I'm going to use in my glue job to actually make use of the business logic. So let's create a glue job. So I come over here. Okay, I go to my go to my glue console, and then I go to my jobs, and here I'm going to write my my job. So I will add my job, and here I say this is my Dojo job 1, and then I select my IAM role. I'm keeping PySpark, Python, version 2, glue version 2. I say I want to write my own script here. I want to write my own script, and I'm going to provide location where my script would be located. So I'm simply going to use the sync location as the script location as well. So I'm simply going to use my sync location as script location. And then, since if you want to use external libraries, you have to expand this script libraries sections over here, and here you have an opportunity to provide the location of the Python library as an external library. So here I'm going to simply provide my location over here. There we go. So now I have provided my S3 Dojo dataset library, my custom lib.zip file. So those two zip files, those two Python files which I have compressed as a zip file and uploaded to the S3 bucket. Those zip files are uploaded to this S3 bucket. Those zip files are mentioned over here. That location is mentioned over here as an external location. Okay, rest I don't need to touch, so I will go next. Since I'm talking to an RDS database, I need to select this connection so that my glue job will find a network path to the RDS endpoint. Then I simply save the job and say I want to edit the script. Now I can start writing the script over here for the job. So first thing I will do, I will import some important glue and PySpark libraries. So I imported my glue and PySpark libraries, and I'm providing this code sample you can see the link in the description box below, and all this code is provided so that you can download this code and probably tweak it to make it work the way, in your way, to do some hands-on. Then I'm going to import my reusable libraries. So my reusable libraries are cleansing lib and data lib.python files. So those libraries I'm going to import here. And then I create my glue context. So like any glue job, I need to create my glue context, and then I need to read data from the source. So in this case, what I'm going to do is simply going to use my reusable code over here. So I simply say data lib.read data, and I'm going to provide my database name, which is source.db, my table name, which is order details table, and then I'm also passing glue context, because the glue context will be used with PySpark to fetch the data. Oops, I'm sorry, Control Z. And then I'm going to write the next part of the code, which is actually, since my order details has got an amount table, I want to simply convert that amount column. I want to convert that amount column into sales value, and that code is written in my cleansing library. And finally, this whole extraction, I'm writing into S3 bucket. So I say I want to write this data frame data into output folder, and under that order details folder. And I want to keep my format as CSV. Okay, so simple enough. So I'm simply writing this code, and you can see here I have not put any business logic here. I'm simply passing parameters to the glue job. And like in this case, for instance, I'm passing CSV as a format, but you might not pass it as a parameter and simply fix that as a parameter, fix that in your reusable code that is going to be a CSV format only. In that way, if tomorrow you change your format from CSV to say JSON, then in that case, simply go and change the code inside your glue job into your reusable code. You don't need to change anything here because you're not. But in this case, I simply thought I will pass as a parameter, but yeah, you can do that kind of reusability. So I simply save the job over here, which is simply making reuse of the external libraries. And then I select this job and say, let's run the job. So it's going to run the job, and execution of the job might take a couple of minutes. So yeah, the job is running. We'll wait for it to finish. And once it finishes, yeah, we will see whether the outcome has been written or not. So let's wait for job to be finished. Okay, so the job has finished. You can see the status has changed to succeeded. Now if I go to my S3 bucket and I refresh my folder, you can see here it has written the output folder, and if I go to my output folder, I can see order details folder, and under order details folders you can see my order files as a JSON document. It has partitioned my my file as a rows, but yeah, I can change the code to change the behavior, and again that behavior I can simply change into my reusable code. I don't need to go to each job to do that. So since it is all about reusability, let's quickly create another glue job using the same library. So I simply go over here and say I want to add another job, and then let's call it dojo job 2, and use the same kind of IAM role. I want to author a new script, and then in my location I simply provide my script folder as a temporary location, as well as location where my job can be written, job code can be stored. Then I provide my script library, and a script library is the same library, no change in that. I simply provide my script library over here, location, and then I say I want to move next. I select my source database connection, and then I save the job, and then I write my code here. And second job is also very much similar. All it is doing is simply extracting data from the customers table and writing to the S3 bucket. So again, I don't want to write the whole code and those kind of things. So I simply imported my libraries, imported my PySpark library as well as reusable library, create a glue context, call the read data to read the customers table this time, and I don't need any cleansing operation at this point of time, so simply write data back to my data format, to my S3 bucket, and this time I'm using JSON format. So again, I told you earlier I'm passing format as a parameter over here, but if you move this whole format thing into your reusable code, then it can be very much, you can say, maintained at one place. So I simply save it, and then I run the job, and yeah, so it will start running my second job, and it should it's using the same reusable code, and in a minute or so it should finish the job, and you can see the output. So let's wait for it to finish the job. Okay, so the job is finished now. You can see the job 2, the status has also changed to succeeded, so the job is over. And similarly, I can, if I go to my output folder over here and refresh my folder, I can see a customers folder over here, which I click on that, I can see my row-wise partition data into my folder. So it has extracted data from the RDS database and put into the S3 bucket. So that was the end of the demo, and yeah, and that's how you can write your reusable code of the jobs into libraries, put into S3 bucket, and then configure as a Python library, external Python library, to keep your such a reusable code maintained at one place and used across multiple jobs. And that really is very handy thing if you are writing a data platform where you have got, like, hundreds or thousands of pipelines running and doing the same kind of task. So that was all for today, guys. Hope you liked the video, and if you like, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you have any feedback, any comments, whether it's for new content, or you want to correct some of the mistakes I have done in my videos, or something I have talked wrong, please do share your feedback on that. And even if you want to discuss some point which I have talked about, and you want to discuss some design or something around that, feel free to provide your comments into my channel. I try to answer each one's comment within a week for sure. So look forward to your feedback, your comments, and I promise to come back again in a week's time with another such a video. In the meantime, stay safe and have a nice day. Bye bye.